Well, good morning. I had a kind of an interesting experience this morning in the local coffee shop I was at, Caribou Coffee. Uh, I guess I'll go ahead and mention the chain I was in. Um, so, it wasn't that interesting, but it was to me personally. So I was just sitting there, kind of close to the door, just minding my own business as much as I could, drinking my coffee. And I looked to my right because I don't know, if it wasn't even a person looking at me because all there was a chalkboard, but I felt like looking and it says, "Why do you persevere?" written in covering like the whole entire chalkboard, but there's enough room for some explanations or people offering their ideas or answers to this question. One was from the Bible, God's blessing, honor, and reward. When my life is over, and I can't read it now because I've moved on, but for a better future I see there for my kids, despite my father, to outlive my enemies. And I think I'll get back to that scripture one, to make our parents and family proud. Be my 9-year-old self deserved God's blessing, honor, and reward when my life is over. And he says, I think, well done in front of everyone. How proud of me he is. I can't wait. So worth it. And it lists several scriptures. Be my 9-year-old self deserved what, because my 9-year-old self deserved what I'm going to give my 21 to 29-year-old selves. She deserves to be happy, to make our parents and family proud. I mentioned that before. Self-love. And what else? What else did I miss? For a better future. And to outlive my enemies was one of them too. So very interesting responses. So when I first began thinking maybe turning this into a YouTube video, I really wasn't gonna give any answers because it seems too trite. And I didn't write anything down on this chalkboard. I vaguely thought of it, but kind of thought, nah. But I did actually, record a video, and I didn't have quite enough nerve to record any further than just the showing what the chalkboard displayed there, and I didn't want to make a scene any more than I already had by recording. Plus, I had made a scene accidentally. I lost my cell phone only for a second because, see that little pocket there? I keep wearing this same coat, or more like a jacket, flannel type thing, and I don't think it's the first time this has happened, so I better beware now. I put my phone in there and it slipped out, apparently, but with it, I only was gone to drop off some of my stuff in the garbage, and put my tray away. And I was a little disoriented in that coffee shop. I went the long way around to even get to where I needed to put stuff. I had to figure out, where does this stuff belong? It's more of a social place for like couples or friends, and I was the only one there by myself. But I've learned since being single, just deal with it. Go places alone. Who cares? I just do it. But it does feel a little awkward, but it kind of increases this factor in me where I feel a little, at least in that place, even more so. But if I got more used to it, I'd be better. I've been way better in places I'm more used to, but I kept doing weird stuff like taking the long way around, even looking for my phone. When backtracking, I was taking the long way around. I have no idea why, but someone finally, it felt like forever, but it was only within a couple minutes. Someone say, "Did you lose your phone?" I was like, "Yeah." And then someone else, they cued me to someone else, and she held my phone up and kind of asked the same question. "Did you lose your phone?" I was like, "Yeah." They didn't ask any more questions. They just gave me my phone back. They did tell me, well, someone turned it in, but I'd only been gone for barely just a minute, maybe, if that. And I'd already lost my phone. So I was talking to myself a little bit like, this is really a panicked feeling, having lost your phone. It's when you're one precious commodity, so to speak. I mean, I use it for so many things. So I guess the question here is, why do you persevere? You know, the old Josie Wells reference is pretty similar, but it's not a question. It's endeavor to persevere. I wasn't going to really give any answers, but being the good Christian I am, there are actually, some answers in the Bible. I don't know how great of answers they would be as it relates to the questions that are in our mind. But I looked at it this way on my drive home, trying to think about how I was going to present this video. It's not so much that the answers we're given are like satisfactory to our mind, because it has questions that probably never will be answered on this side of the veil, on this side of eternity. At least not if you're a curious soul like myself. But I do, having that capacity for questions and that indulgence, is that the right word? Maybe not. More inclined to have questions. I try not to overthink on purpose. I just let it go. But I know there's a depth to me that could, if I wanted to, or I could listen to someone else pose questions and totally lead me. I don't think it really lead me any particular way, but at least I'd be willing to think down their line of thinking. But I think one of the most impressive passages, actually, as it relates to that question, I didn't find it till later. And I admit AI helped me find this, because I just submitted the question to Google. And this isn't an exhaustive study. It's just, what can I find on the surface here? And even on the surface, it gave a pretty good answer from Hebrews 10:36. You have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. Now, I know to some people that could be trite, but I think it's fair enough. Any answer really along those existential, if I can say the word existential questions, it's up to you to decide if that has meaning or not. So endurance is necessary. This verse explicitly states that you have need of endurance, following God's will. Perseverance allows you to fully carry out God's will. Receiving promises. By enduring through challenges, you can ultimately receive the promises God has made. Let me read that verse again. Hebrews 10:36. You need to persevere, so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. And then the following verse. For in just a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. Verse 38. But my righteous one will live by faith, and I take no pleasure in the one who shrinks back. So let me reread that. Let me actually just read the whole thing. From Hebrews 10, verses 36 through 38. You need to persevere, so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. For in just a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. But my righteous one will live by faith, and I take no pleasure in the one who shrinks back. So originally, I wasn't going to offer anything. I almost enjoy the non-answer. Think about it yourself, contemplate. Even in Mary Oliver's work, I think I read some line where she wanted to be one who does not strive for answers. Those were her exact words, but is driven more by curiosity. And I definitely do. That was actually my first thought, actually. This is more of an afterthought. It's just that there are answers. It's just a matter of, are you willing to latch on to, or let them latch on to you, really? Like I said before, it's not that we hold the answer in our soulish realm or brain. It's that we are being held by the very essence of what is, holding all things complete within himself, including you and me, and the entire universe is also held together. If you want to get into the physic realm of it, the physics, all things are held together. I could look that up, so I'm not just semi-quoting it half-bass. All things are held together. And I know this doesn't satisfy a lot of questions that people may have. Oh, according to the Bible, the phrase all things are held together by him is found in Colossians 1:17, which states, and he is before all things, and in him all things hold together, referring to Jesus Christ as the unifying force behind all creation. Ooh, it kind of got me there for a second. So, I'm kind of emotional and kind of not all at once. It's hard to explain where I come from exactly. I have those moments where it just grabs. So that's cool. And maybe not cool for some people, but whatever. Yeah, all things were created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And I won't really drag on too much more about the biblical context. I mean, if you're more interested in just, I don't know what the answer is, and in some real contextual way, my brain just doesn't have the answer as far as how would I address this before I even looked up these scriptures. I probably would just say, man, I don't know. Now, is that lying? Because I do have some answers. I guess I'm always wanting to perpetuate curiosity even more than answers, so I actually may say that. And I don't really think it's lying because I don't have like an instant answer. I do believe I walk in health, so therefore, if I have a certain degree of physical and mental health and even financial health, I'm being held together in that sense more than I'm holding myself together. Although I do persevere, I try to cooperate with that process and partner with the God of the universe in that process. It's more than my self-effort, although I don't give myself an excuse to be lazy. I've wrestled with the idea of striving versus resting. I'm still learning about resting, and I'm under the umbrella of leadership that does emphasize rest over labor. But I do still see everyone working and doing what they need to do. That I haven't seen any sense of people abandoning their responsibilities because of what they're being taught. I mean, there's common sense. People don't tend to do that. And perhaps I misunderstand exactly what they mean, but I guess I haven't overthought of it either. Hopefully not. Yeah, if you want to enter into rest, I guess you just look. One of the leaders of my church would be Quincy Goodstar. I'll just throw his name out there. I don't know if he'd appreciate me mentioning him or not. I probably need to listen to a couple of his videos. You go ahead and listen. I'll include one in the description box, and maybe you can get an idea of where we're coming from in that regard. And no, I'm not really like a super great follower. I do just listen from time to time. I listen to a lot of things. I don't know, is that a fault of mine? I consider a lot of views, maybe not too wide. I mean, I'm not like my brain's falling out of my head or anything, but I do listen. So I want to be a good listener and understand where people are coming from. But yeah, I thought that was rather interesting, going to the coffee shop, having my experience there as I did. And even now I'm wondering, did I actually remember to press record? Yes, I did. I'm recording this audio besides how it sounds through the iPhone. I'm actually recording it through this mic. I just had to double check that. Why do you persevere? Actually, one of the ones that would be quite honest is to outlive your enemy. That was actually pretty good, to be totally truthful. But that could be punishment in a sense. I don't remember what show it was, but this one guy did, in fact, outlive all his friends. And it was almost like a punishment to just be there all alone. I don't know. I don't remember what I was watching. But I remember, I think it was the same person that plays Reverend Aldman or whatever on Little House of the Prairie. He had lived so long, but he outlived anyone that was significant to him, if I remember right. Self-love. We already went over some of these for my kids. But God's blessing, honor, and reward when my life is over. I mean, Honestly, when I first read that, I thought maybe that was a little bit trite for public viewing, but not that it's not true. How are most people going to relate to that? And they listed James 1:12, 1 Peter 2:19 through 20, 2 Timothy 2:12, Revelation 3:12. Those may be worth looking up. But the one I honestly found seemed to actually answer the question maybe a little more consistently, or just answering the question. I don't know if it had a lot of the meaning behind it. People would want to grab the whole width and breadth that we sometimes have. It just answered the question, but I'm not sure how people would take it. All things, that's not the one I was looking at. That's the one I mentioned, that all things are held together. You should persevere because you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. I guess it's another way of saying don't lose hope. If you don't faint, there will be due reward, and I'm butchering that. So let's keep carrying on, but I think there is a restful place besides still waters, and it's just not all the same hopeless drab that maybe some of us are accustomed to, that there actually is hope. Believe it or not, but it's far better to believe it than not, because it does impact your brain and how you operate, and even your body, if you want to look at it from a psychological or even medical perspective, on the benefits of religion, faith, spirituality. I think it's more important than maybe the scientific. Well, the scientific community is the one saying it's important in that regard, so there is acknowledgement if you want to reduce it to that. I think it could go a little higher than mind over matter, but even if it is mind over matter, fine. Anyway, I don't want to drag this on any longer. Or do I? Is there anything else I'd want to mention? Well, I just hope you all are blessed. I hope you appreciated the video. I appreciate you. And any comments you make, any thoughts you may have, even if it's disagreeing or agreeing. Either way, it's a thoughtful thought process. Why do you persevere? And most of us, if we're still alive on some level, even the most depressed, debased level, we are endeavoring to persevere. Even if we are in a place of giving up. Have we really? Because what does giving up really mean? Why do you give up, and have you really done that? Are you still on this trail of life, walking through situations, walking through circumstances? But it's more than the circumstance. It's more than the elements and then the environment that we are in, although that's important. I mean, who wants to be in a lousy, crummy, debased environment? Who wants to be in the slums? Who wants to have a landlord that's kind of taking advantage of you? We all want the best for ourselves, I would think. There's plenty of people that don't think they deserve it, and there's plenty of people who think they are entitled and deserve a better life. There's just all kinds of ways of looking at things, and I hope that you find encouragement in this, even though I haven't given more than, I suppose, a trite answer. It is the Word of God, though, so I suppose we could give it a better view than just being trite. It sometimes does feel that way because it's just telling us the truth. You have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. So then the next question would be, what is the will of God? You can just get really entrenched in all kinds of questions, but my goal here is not to overwhelm you with even more questions, but one question will ultimately lead to another. but it's not my job to overthink that for you. And in fact, it's not my job to even cause you to overthink it. I would encourage you just to rest for a moment. Take a breath, relax, whether you're struggling with anxiety or not. Even those of you who aren't, take a breath, get into a deeper, relaxed state of mind, even if you think you have it together or whether you don't. There are many things to consider, but all in their due time, because everything has a place and a time. And maybe it's not the time to think about X, Y, Z. It could be set in time for when it's appropriate to think about whatever it is that's coming your way this year in 2025. I think opportunities and being at the right place and at the right time is a part of what you should expect. And I don't know what lends itself to coincidence versus more of a fatalistic, this happened for a reason type mindset. And I don't know how to balance those things out for you, coincidence versus fatalism, and I do know there's some element of both, just by virtue of the fact we live in a fallen world, and sometimes things happen that I do not believe are actually in the will of God's ideal will, but I don't have a lot of answers. I'm admitting that I don't have a lot of answers, and that's probably the best place to operate from if you don't, in fact, have the deeper understanding, or maybe sometimes this deeper depth that we try to reach could be misguiding us. Could be. Maybe we need to accept some level of this fallen state. But then again, maybe we settle too easily for our illnesses, our mental states that aren't always the healthiest. There's kind of this balance, this need to rise above. What do we accept? What do we improve upon? What kind of help can we receive? What's our ambition to strive for better? Resting back, leaning back into the everlasting arms, being pulled forward as we reach out to Jesus, being pulled out from the waters that we sunk in, because for a moment we were walking on the water like Peter, but we sank because we got our eyes off in a different direction momentarily. What do you call that? A momentary lapse of, is it reasoning? Or in that instance, it was a momentary lapse of faith, I suppose, more than reasoning. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I don't know what else to do. These videos are kind of a ramble, I suppose. If I have it all together in a very structured fashion, to me it just becomes trite. I'd actually rather myself listen to someone who's kind of pulling from different directions in a conscious flow of things. If you have it figured out enough to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and line upon line, precept upon precept, that's great, but I may actually lose interest in you rather quickly, depending maybe on your personality. So I know there's an element of charisma in how you come across to people and what you can portray as hope, faith, love. By the way, I do love each and every one of you on some level. Obviously, it can't be too deep if I don't even know you, but I myself would rather listen to someone who says, I love you, when they end their video. But I do find that hard to do myself, just to be honest. But I know love is the ultimate. There's faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is, in fact, love. With all that being said, I don't know how I can take this video any further right now, but I imagine if I keep talking like this in other videos, there's a chance I may stumble my way. I may be guided, brothers, into some deeper discussions and more meaningful conversations. What is the spiritual meaning of perseverance? This is a meaning, it says, to endure trials and tribulations while following the Lord. Blessed are they who have kept the word with a generous heart and yield a harvest through perseverance. Luke 8:15. I think this kind of stuff could be beneficial to even non-believers, really. I mean, there's always the need to persevere and have a reason for hope, and love, and sometimes even faith, even for people who don't necessarily believe. I mean, if you're walking in a place and you feel the instability, and if you don't feel it now, perhaps in due time you will feel it. And it's always a little nicer to walk on something that's solid. Although I know there's that one place in that one movie, what was it, where he has to like have faith that he's walking on basically nothing. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, I can't think of what it was called or even what movie genre it was. It's the one, I think it's the same one where they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant. I can't think of what it's called. Was it Raiders of the Lost Ark? I don't know. There's that one scene where it was kind of a discomforting thing to move forward walking upon nothing. I think he might have threw out some sand or something, and it was apparent there was a little something that looked like he could walk on. Sometimes that's what it feels like in life, is moving one step at a time, and we wish we could project a little further into the future and see what's in store, but one day at a time, I suppose. I wish I could offer a little more than one day at a time, but sometimes that's what we have. Hebrews 10:36 through 7. Hebrews 10:36 through 7:37 commentary. Yeah. Well, if I read a commentary, maybe they'd want credit for it. But there's all kinds of things you can look up yourself online about endurance. Why is it necessary? Perseverance and things like that. Anyway, just it's a weekend. It's actually time to rest. It's time to put your labor aside, perhaps, unless you have a part-time job, or a overtime position somewhere, or a side hustle. We're all doing what we have to survive, and I do get that. And I've probably said it for the third time. It's time to end the video, or at least I alluded to it. I appreciate everyone watching. Hopefully I know when it's time. I've said enough, I do believe. If you feel inclined, please do leave a comment. Please give your thoughts. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. We'll see if this works. It rarely does for turning it off. But I think if I turn it off and then back on, it might work. Let's see if it does.